Hello, and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. I'm Aaron Porras here with ILTV's Morning Briefing. One police officer was killed and another was injured earlier this morning when an Arab terrorist attacked security forces during an operation to demolish illegal structures in a Bedouin village in the Negev. Police units were deployed to the Negev town of al-Hiran before dawn to protect the demolition team from protesters who had congregated at the site of the planned eviction. A car driven by a terrorist associated with the Islamic movement then rammed a group of officers who responded to the attack by shooting and killing the attacker. The murdered officer has been identified as 34-year-old Sergeant Major Erez Levy. Israel's Joint Arab List MK Ayman Odeh, who had joined demonstrators to protest the demolition, suffered head injuries during the clashes, most likely from a stone hurled towards police. In an unrelated incident, a knife-wielding Palestinian was shot and killed Tuesday evening following an attempted stabbing attack on IDF soldiers at a checkpoint outside the West Bank city of Tulkarem. The IDF soldier who was killed in a maintenance accident in northern Israel on Monday will be buried tomorrow afternoon at the military cemetery in Rishon LeZion. 20-year-old Corporal Vyacheslav Gargai suffered fatal wounds while performing maintenance on an armored personnel carrier at the El Poran base in the Golan Heights. An iron object apparently came loose and struck him in the upper torso, inflicting the fatal wounds. He was airlifted to the Rambam Medical Center in Haifa, where doctors pronounced his death. An inquiry commission was appointed by Northern Command Major General Aviv Kochavi to investigate the accident. Originally completed in 2014, the height of the 250-mile-long barrier between Egypt and Israel has just been raised. Raising the height of the electric fence along a section of the border from 15 to 25 feet, or from 5 to 8 meters, was done in an effort to further minimize illegal immigration, drug and weapon trafficking, and terrorist infiltration. Since the barrier was erected nearly 3 years ago, illegal immigration from asylum seekers in Africa has also been dramatically reduced. In 2015, over 200 people still managed to breach the fence. Additional detection devices in addition to the raising of the fence has reduced that number to 11 in all of 2016. According to the UN, Israel is currently host to 53,000 refugees and asylum seekers, most of them from Eritrea and Sudan. Eritreans in Israel number around 36,000 and Sudanese 14,000. Rarely have they been granted refugee status by the Israeli government. After holding talks in Moscow, Russia, the leading factions of Hamas in Gaza and Fatah in Judea and Samaria have allegedly announced a revitalized attempt to form a unity government ahead of Palestinian elections. Participants in the reunification talks included representatives from Fatah, Hamas, an internationally recognized terror organization, Islamic Jihad, another terror organization, and several other groups. The Palestinian Authority, which is essentially comprised of all of these groups, was last unified in 2006. The government began to split shortly after the death of Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat in 2004. In 2006, Palestinian national elections saw the terror group Hamas come out victorious. When the rivaling political parties failed to reach an agreement over control of the territories, however, the 2007 Fatah-Hamas conflict was the result. Also referred to as the Palestinian Civil War, the conflict resulted in Hamas militarily taking over Gaza and killing any political rivals in the Strip. Fatah, led by Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, was left in charge of Judea and Samaria, commonly referred to as the West Bank. Senior Fatah official Azam al-Ahmad, speaking at a press conference after the recent Russian talks, said, quote, "We have reached agreement under which, within 48 hours, we will call upon PA President Abbas to launch consultations in the creation of a government of national unity. It is imperative to find a new working mechanism for the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Russia," he continued, "can play a substantial role." United States Ambassador to Israel Dan Shapiro said yesterday that despite perceptions to the contrary, ties between the US and Israel were improved during the 8-year tenure of President Barack Obama. At the farewell event for Shapiro organized by the Knesset Caucus for Israel-US Relations, Minister of National Infrastructure, Energy, and Water Resources Yuval Steinitz praised Shapiro, saying that he has been, quote, "the best US ambassador to Israel the country has ever had," end quote. Shapiro had to weather the storms of frequent tensions between President Barack Obama and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu during his tenure as ambassador to Israel, especially regarding the explosive issue of the Iran nuclear deal. And in a separate meeting at the president's residence, President Reuven Rivlin gave Shapiro a parting letter for Obama, thanking him for his support for Israel's defense, even as he acknowledged the occasional differences of opinion between the two allies. That's all for now. I'm Aaron Porras, and see you later with our main daily broadcast from Israel at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.